Hey everybody, what's going on? Man, it's been a while. It's been a while. How have you guys been? I really missed you. I haven't done YouTube in a while. I haven't made a video in a while. At least like 2 months. The last video I made was, I think, that Hollow Knight video or one of the Call of the Sea videos. Man, my life has been a crazy whirlwind for the past month. Well, the past month has been a crazy whirlwind, not my whole life. I'm a pretty boring guy. That's why I'm doing YouTube. But I just kind of wanted to explain why I've been gone for so long, what I've been up to, what I've been doing, and hopefully that kind of makes up for why I've been gone, and hopefully you guys understand as well. So I don't know if I've mentioned it before, but I'm actually staying at my grandparents' house. I've been helping out kind of around. They've got like a field and an orchard and all that, so I've been doing some yard work for them. I mow the lawn, which takes like 3 hours because it's a huge lawn. It's such a beautiful place, and I'm so blessed and lucky to be here. Honestly, I know that there are some other housing options I could have been at, and I mean, I love my dad's house, but it's about that big, and there's 4 of us. So I'm pretty blessed to have this beautiful place to take care of. Eventually I'll do a house tour, if that's something that you guys are interested in. Just show you around the property and all that. For the last year and a half, almost 2 years, my grandpa was been really sick with chemotherapy, and he had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, which is a form of blood disease. I think that now they're kind of attributing to weed killer, which he used a lot. My grandma and I are still trying to figure out. We got in not like in the middle of a lawsuit, but it was kind of sketchy, kind of a scam, because as soon as we pulled in, there was some fine paperwork and some fine reading that she nor I had no idea that was in there. So I'm so nervous. I haven't done this in a while. Yeah, anyway, so my grandpa's been pretty sick, but I've been here to take care of him, and it's nice. I think people should spend more time with their grandparents. I'm so lucky that I did. Before my nana, my grandma on my mom's side passed away about 2 years ago now, almost 3 years. I think in February. Wow, it's been a while. I spent a lot of time with her as well. Not as much as I wanted to, but I feel like I got to know her for my entire life. So that was nice. And she was a very special person to me. So when she passed away, it kind of hit me pretty hard. And I think when people pass away, mostly like great-grandparents or grandparents, you still feel sad, but you don't or at least for me, I don't want to speak for anybody else, but I kind of didn't really know my great-grandma that well, or some of my great-grandparents, so I didn't really connect with them that well. Plus, most of them passed away when I was like 3 or 4, so I didn't really get a chance to know them. When I took my break, because I'd been recording for pretty much every day, and that was a personal goal of mine. I've wanted to record every day. I kind of didn't care how well the video did. I just wanted to have a consistent schedule, because I felt like if I have a consistent schedule, then I can just over time make the videos better and better and better for you guys, because I don't want to sell you crap. I do this because I love it, and it makes me happy, and it hopefully makes you guys happy, and making you guys happy makes me happy, so it just comes full circle. But anyway, I think, I don't know if I got a call or something, but my grandpa left for the hospital. There was an experimental treatment, I think it was experimental, where they do like a stem cell transplant. And if I remember learning right in biology, that your stem cells are the base layer of cells where all the other cells come from. So most of the time when you have cancer, if those cells are mutated, then it's just going to make the rest of the cells bad. So you get stem cell transplant. So they scoop those stem cells out, which is bad for you because then you have nothing making any cells. But then they transplant somebody else's stem cells towards you, and then that regrows healthy tissue, which is poggers. Yeah, so he went in. The last time I saw him in person was probably we had a blackout for about 5 days, and it just shut all the power off. Thank God that we have a fireplace that has a mantle on top that we could just cook on top of. So that was really, really lucky for that. But anyway, so the power came back on. I had to go to my dad's house because I think I had a test for one of my classes, but that was the last time that I saw him. And then he went to go to the hospital. He was there for a while, and then the doctors took care of him. They gave him injections and all that, and it was kind of cute because they gave him meals, and Grandpa always kind of like cooked his own stuff. My grandfather, he was always like out with the smoker out back, or he made the food for the family, which is really cool too, because my grandparents kind of broke gender roles way back in like the 60s and 70s. My grandpa retired early, and my grandma was the one that was working for the most part for I want to say a really long time. But my grandpa was at home taking care of my dad, so I've always found that really cool, and I've always been grateful for that too. Yeah, my grandpa went into the hospital, and then his health just kind of slowly declined, and it was kind of a sad thing, but we figured that would happen. For any of you that have experienced grandparents or friends or loved ones going through chemotherapy, you know that it's kind of a slow decline in health, because over time chemo destroys all the cells in your body, which is good, but it's also bad because it destroys the good cells as well. So that's not great. But so we kind of expected that he'd kind of dip in health a little bit, but eventually it got so bad to the point where actually the good news is he passed a stem cell treatment, so that's awesome. But then some other complications came up, like he had afibrillation, which is where I'm pretty sure your heart beats really fast, but it's not really kind of producing any like high amounts of blood for that normal heart. Like when your heart's beating really fast, it disperses blood everywhere to your body, mostly like working out or if you're running or doing whatever, but with afibrillation or AFib, I don't know if that's the real correct term, but your heart pumps really fast, and then it actually decreases your blood pressure because your body's not getting enough blood pumped to other places. So that's not great. And then also, apparently he had cystic fibrosis in his lungs, which is where your lungs, normally when you get x-rayed, they look healthy and they look full, and you see the little bronchi trees or whatever that, spread throughout your lungs. But when you take a picture of somebody that has cystic fibrosis in their lungs, it kind of looks like shattered glass, and it looks like somebody broke a window, because there's a bunch of scar tissue in your lungs, and so the bronchi don't get to heal. So a lot of issues. And when we found out that they had put him on dialysis for his kidneys, which is sort of a machine that kind of replaces the function of your kidneys, and then they put him on just a bunch of other machines to help him function, and it was really hard for my grandma and I, because she was dealing with the lawsuit at the time against the weed killer company to try to get something out of it to help pay for medical expenses or whatever. So they ended up asking my grandma if it was okay to put him on a ventilator for his body, because he couldn't catch his breath. And I remember every morning too, way before this, my grandpa would cough a lot. We kind of knew something bad was going to happen, but it was really sweet, because the last thing that my grandpa said to my grandma was "I love you." So that was awesome. But then he got put under the ventilator, and that was kind of that. And then he was under for about 2 months, kind of why I was pushing out so much content, just trying not to think about that. sorry. Anyway, he got put on the ventilator, and it was about 2 months, and then we got a call from the doctor that asked us to come down there, and we kind of knew that it was going to be his time, but you know, there's still that hope of like, hopefully something can happen, hopefully some miracle can occur, something can change, something, you know. But yeah, so we went there, and we checked into the hospital, and the doctor said that he wouldn't have very much longer left to live. So my grandma and I went down to the cafe area into the hospital, and we just kind of ate and waited, and they rushed him to the after his stem cell treatment. They put him in the cardiac unit because of his heart issues, and then everything else kind of declined, so they ended up putting him in the ICU, which is the intensive care unit. And then so he was basically being kept alive by the ventilator. So we were asked to come down there to talk about some options, and the head doctor for the ICU unit told us that it was probably going to be time for Grandpa. So we said, okay, so we'll go. Went to go see him, and she asked us if we wanted to pull the plug out, basically. And it's so different when it's in movies, because it's sad and you're with the character and you like feel that, and you're like, oh my god, that person has to make this horrible decision. But I think that's also as like a gamer too, somebody who plays video games a lot, you get a lot of second chances. You can die a horrible death. Even in games like Dark Souls, you get to respawn. I mean, imagine Dark Souls if you had one chance and that was it, and if you died, you lost everything and you had to start the entire game all over again. In real life, there's no second chances, and that's kind of depressing. It's also kind of reassuring, because it taught me to live my life to the fullest. It taught me that we only get one chance, and there's no reason to kind of fret and worry about what other people are going to think when we don't even know how long we have left. So we went in there and we discussed it. We asked the lady to take the ventilator off of his mouth and unhook all the cords and everything, and she said that we may have 2 weeks, we may have a day, we may even have 15 minutes. So nobody knew what would happen. So we go down to the cafe, and the very nice nurses are doing what they're doing upstairs, and Grandma and I are just talking about it. My grandma gets a phone call, and it's the head nurse for Grandpa's ICU, and she goes, you guys have to come up here right now if you want to see him. And we were like, holy shit. So I threw my coffee away. I haven't been sleeping very well. So we rushed back up, and he has the thing off his face, and he's breathing, but it's like really shallow breathing. I feel like most people kind of get a shock when they see their loved ones in the ICU unit, or even, you know, after intensive chemo. But Grandpa had been on chemo for so long, for most of my life. I was used to him bald and kind of incapacitated, so it wasn't that much of a shock. It was mostly just the machines in him were a shock, but even then it was like, once the initial shock had passed, I was just okay with it. So we pulled the ventilators off, and he just kind of slipped away, and it is such a surreal experience to not just watch somebody you love pass away, but anybody. And movies and TV kind of get it right when, like, you know, somebody dies and like a little ghost slips out of their mouth. It's pretty accurate. So it's just such a surreal experience. It's the best way I can sum it up. So just a lot of hugging, mostly. Actually, I was really worried about my grandma because she and I were there. My dad couldn't make it because of health issues. Also, because of COVID and everything, they only allow 2 people in the visiting room. And Grandpa didn't want a lot of people anyway. But he was very... Yeah, he had a lot of pride. So he didn't want people to see him in that state. But... So we just kind of... We said our goodbyes, and then the UC Davis people took Grandpa and took care of him. They were really sweet. They were really nice people. But yeah, my grandma and I drove home. We just I just let it sink in, you know, because there's nothing else to do. I think we watched a movie together and just kind of went to bed. I couldn't sleep. But I think I exhausted myself out. I just I'm just so emotionally exhausted. I couldn't really stay awake. Yeah. It was so different too between my Nana and my grandpa, because with my Nana, oh god, sorry. Woo. with my Nana, I was told that she had passed away. I wasn't there, so it's really different. It's so, like, it's just, like, honestly, I could describe it, but there's just nothing like being there. So, and you just spend so much of your life with somebody that when they're not there anymore, it is so fucking different. Everything is just so fucking different. I mean, practically everything is the same, you know. I mean, I was pretty much functioning on my own, making my own breakfast and making breakfast for Grandpa and going to school, playing games, doing YouTube, all that stuff. But like, I can't call him anymore. I can't talk to him about things. I can't ask him questions. Like, that person's not in my life anymore. It sucks. It sucks a lot, you know. Like, 'cause as a kid, you wanna show your parents and your grandparents everything you do. You know, you're like, hey Dad, look at this thing that I built, or look at my grades, or like, be proud of me. And they can't do that anymore. So after he passed away, it was just kind of, you just try to fill that void in your life with other things and try to be productive. Or this is stuff I do. I tried to kind of block it out with doing a lot of the manual labor around the house. We had a lot of timber left over because we had some one of our neighbors does like housing and remodeling, so we had the side paneling of our house taken off, so we had a lot of lumber left over. So that was something Grandpa and I used to do together. We would just do stuff around the house, so he and I moved those boards around back on the patio. So I just kind of moved them all into different places, and like for most of my life, I grew up with grandpa outside doing chores, and I would spend, inside time watching a movie or TV or something, just being a little kid. I'd go out and help grandpa too. But as I got older and as I started to become like a young man, I started to do more and more of those things with him and enjoy doing outside stuff, and eventually take that over for him because he couldn't do that anymore for himself because of chemo. Actually, we kind of turned chemotherapy into a fun thing, because he couldn't really walk without getting dizzy. So what we did was we set the lawnmower up so he could ride on it and then help me out. We have these big irrigation pipes because the property's pretty big, so we water the whole yard, and we'd set it up so he'd kind of show me where to put the pipes, and he'd help me by putting pipes on his shoulder, and I'm like, what are you doing? You're gonna hurt yourself. And he's like, it's fine. And he showed me how to cut wood. We cut a bunch of wood for the fireplace to keep ourselves warm, to keep grandma warm during the winter. I get super hot already, so setting a fire just makes me already hot, but sometimes it gets pretty cold. But yeah, I mean, there's so many things I did with him throughout my entire life, and there's so many things I wanted to do with him that I won't be able to do anymore. But you can do things in people's memory, and that's almost good enough for me. I'm not the kind to hold a grudge for a while. I'm not the kind to grieve over time. I try to let things go, and I mean, it's hard because in a lot of ways he was like a second dad to me. I mean, he taught me so many things, which is why I say that if you can, try to spend some time with your grandparents. I mean, trust me, I get it. There are some old, crusty, insanely religious people out there. And if you have one of those as your grandparents, I am so sorry for you. But, I mean, there's even still something to learn from them. Everybody has something to learn from. Everybody's gone through their own experiences. I mean, there's just so much that you can learn from older people, and I feel like a lot of the times we just kind of push them away because they smell gross or weird, and we don't, they're annoying or whatever. Yeah, but just cherish, I would say, what you can. I'm not trying to be ominous. I'm not saying that they're gonna like die right away. That's horrible. I'm just saying that there are still things I want to ask him. There's so many different ways of cooking I want to learn. Way in the future, maybe I want to have kids. Who knows if that'll ever happen? But dad advice from him. So I'd like to think that I've gotten closure with it. We got his ashes yesterday or 2 days ago, and we're thinking about either making like a little necklace that I can wear, because that's what we did with my nana when she was cremated, or even spreading his ashes somewhere on a beach. My grandma and I've been really thinking about that as well. But yeah, that's the reason I was gone for so long. I really wanted to make videos. Actually, about a week after he had passed away, I had felt okay enough to make videos. But we had some family over who wanted to just kind of make sure we were okay and help us grieve a little bit, and that was also really, really helpful, and it was nice. Yeah, I really wanted to do this again, and I think I'm ready to do this again. Got all the tears out of the way. I'm ready to push on with some of the series that I have going. I've got another a really big series in mind that I'd like to continue. So I've got a lot of stuff planned for the future, and I'm ready to get back into the swing of things. I'm nervous. I'm really nervous because I feel like I'm completely out of it or whatever, but hopefully it's like a bike, you know, you hop back on it and learn how to ride, I guess. Yeah, so anyway, thanks for listening, and thanks for watching. Thanks for being there for me. You guys really make my day, and you know, you're the whole reason that I do this. I like to hear myself talk, but not that much. Not for a whole video. I mean, if I can just make one other person happy, then it's worth it. Yeah. So, anyway, yeah. Thanks for watching.